This video will discuss unsportsmanlike conduct, sideline interference, disqualifying acts, and unfair acts. Unsportsmanlike conduct are always penalties that do not have contact involved. If contact is involved, it is a personal foul. We will look at each of the major unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. The first is taunting, abusive, or insulting language. This includes cussing at an opponent, racial slurs, sexual slurs, or any language that is intended or designed to embarrass, ridicule, or demean others under any circumstances. This can also include gestures that are intended to do the same. Players are also not allowed to spike, kick, or throw a dead ball. This typically occurs after a touchdown or first down when a player is celebrating. We could also see it occur in frustration. This is why it's a good idea to encourage players both at the beginning and during the game to give the ball to the official once it's dead. A player who intentionally throws the ball away from an official has also committed an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty under this rule. Disagreeing with officials' calls are common during sporting events. There is a right and wrong way to do this, and we also give different amounts of leeway for this depending on the person doing it. If a player or coach is trying to show us up, then we should throw a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. This includes big nonverbal demonstrations along with loud verbal arguments. In these situations, the best thing to do is throw the flag and get out of the situation. Arguing back only causes more problems. We need to keep our emotions under control in these situations. We are the ultimate authority on the field, and what we say goes. When we get emotional and lose control, we lose our credibility. We should be the nicest person in a stadium. Head coaches should always be given a greater amount of leeway in these situations. A head coach is allowed to disagree with calls as long as they aren't trying to show us up or acting in a disrespectful manner. However, an assistant coach should not be allowed to yell and argue with officials. Their job is simply to coach their team. An assistant coach, however, is more than welcome to ask me a question on a call in a respectful way. A good way to keep control of the game is by being willing to talk with coaches about calls when possible. If you can explain a tough call or confusing situation, coaches may not be happy, but will be less demonstrative if we have a conversation. I also recommend warning the head coach before penalizing them here. If you can tell them that you've heard enough, or if they keep going, you will give them a flag, then you may end up defusing the situation. This gives them an opportunity to say what they think needs to be said, but also see where the line is. Football is an emotional game. Players get excited and should be allowed to celebrate with their teammates when they accomplish goals, including making stops, getting touchdowns, or getting first downs. However, if players go too far, then we have an unsportsmanlike conduct. A quick, excited response shouldn't be flagged immediately. Preventive officiating here can help us let the player know he needs to move on and get the ball back from him if needed. We also want to make sure that there isn't taunting. Sometimes after a big hit, we can see this through a flex over a player. This would also deserve a flag. Another good example of this would be a player high-stepping or flipping into an end zone as he goes in to score. The ultimate goal is to make sure that the players aren't trying to bring too much attention to themselves. There are certain fouls that are automatically charged to the head coach as an unsportsmanlike conduct foul, even if the coach doesn't commit it himself. This is because the head coach is the ultimate authority for his team. The first thing they are responsible for is illegal equipment. This includes things like jewelry, sticky substances, or eye shields that have tint. Video 1.2 covers all of the illegal equipment. Coaches take responsibility for this when we ask them about it during the pregame meeting. If a team isn't ready to start either half, the coach can be penalized as well. This typically means we are calling to the team to get them ready for the kickoff and refusing to break their huddle. A slight delay does not rise to the level of a penalty. We would want a coach to completely ignore an official command and just stay in their huddle. This should almost never happen. The next is not having their team ready for a 3-minute warm-up. The rulebook does not specifically state what being ready means. For Skiza, we consider the team ready as long as they have a player out of the locker room and on the field or sideline. Finally, if we have a third non-contact violation of a team being in the restricted area, an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty is assessed to the head coach. It's his responsibility to keep the sidelines clear for the officials to work. If it happens a fourth time, the coach is ejected. Finally, the use of tobacco, alcohol, or illegal substances are not allowed to be used by players or non-players during the games. All fields should have a team box marked. This box extends from the 25-yard line to the 25-yard line and starts 2 yards from the sideline. All players must be in this box when not entering or coming off as a substitute. The chains should also be along this line once they are set. While the ball is dead, there can be up to 3 coaches in the restricted area. However, once the ball is snapped, all players and non-players should be out of this restricted area. We need to make sure that this is enforced so that we avoid injuries for officials. The restricted area is our space to work. There are a few different levels of penalties for sideline interference. If we have players or coaches in the restricted area, once the ball is snapped, the first flag is simply a warning. The second offense is a 5-yard live ball penalty that is enforced from the succeeding spot. Any additional fouls for being in the restricted area is a 15-yard penalty and is also an unsportsmanlike conduct charge to the head coach. So if we have 2 additional fouls, the head coach is disqualified. If contact is made unintentionally in the restricted area, there is an automatic 15-yard personal foul for sideline interference that is enforced from the succeeding spot. If this foul occurs a second time, it also comes with the ejection of the head coach. There are a number of fouls that can lead to disqualification for players. Remember, a player who is disqualified must remain in the team box and cannot go into a locker room without an adult. Fighting is an automatic ejection. This includes players who enter the field from the sideline during a fight. Players cannot intentionally contact an official. Striking a player with a fist, locked hands, forearm, elbow, foot, or knee in a way that is outside of the normal contact of football is also a foul that includes disqualification. A flagrant foul is a foul so severe or extreme that it places an opponent in danger of serious injury or involves violations that are extremely or persistently vulgar or abusive conduct. So this can be applied to any personal foul that seems to be intended to injure an opponent. An example of this would be a targeting call that seems to be 100% on purpose to try to injure a player. We can also use this if a player commits many unnecessary roughness calls or any other personal fouls and it seems to just be trying to play roughly. Finally, a player who receives a second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. We need to make sure that if we have an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, that we get the number of the player.